Travel along, Catholic pilgrims, for 1 year as we read through St. Faustina's diary. Join me, Amy Thomas, each day for a short reading out of the diary which brought us a deeper understanding of Christ's divine mercy. Hey, Catholic pilgrims, welcome back to day 16 of our reading from St. Faustina's diary. So today we are reading from Notebook 1, and we are reading a pretty short section today. It's 44 and 45. And I wanted to go a little bit longer, but tomorrow starts a longer piece that all really flows together, and I didn't want to chop that in half. Tomorrow we're going to be hearing about Christ tell Sister Faustina about the image that he wants painted. So I didn't want to cut that in half. So that's why today is going to be so short. But let's get going. One day, Jesus said to me, "I am going to leave this house, because there are things here which displease me." And the host came out of the tabernacle and came to rest in my hands, and I, with joy, placed it back in the tabernacle. This was repeated a second time, and I did the same thing. Despite this, it happened a third time, but the host was transformed into the living Lord Jesus, who said to me, "I will stay here no longer." At this, a powerful love for Jesus rose up in my soul. I answered, "And I will not let you leave this house, Jesus." And again, Jesus disappeared while the host remained in my hands. Once again, I put it back in the chalice and closed it up in the tabernacle, and Jesus stayed with us. I undertook to make 3 days of adoration by way of reparation. Once Jesus said to me, "Tell Mother General, Michael, that in this house such and such a thing is being committed, which displeases me and offends me greatly." I did not tell this to Mother right away, but the uneasiness which the Lord made me feel did not permit me to wait a minute longer, and I wrote immediately to Mother General, and peace returned to my soul. I often felt the passion of the Lord Jesus in my body, although this was imperceptible to others, and I rejoiced in it because Jesus wanted it so. But this lasted for only a short time. These sufferings set my soul afire with love for God and for immortal souls. Love endures everything. Love is stronger than death. Love fears nothing. Okay, so I kind of made a little mistake there at the beginning. I said we were only reading 44 and 45, but it's meant to be 46. So hopefully I'll caught on to that. Okay, so this is another very intriguing conversation between Christ and Sister Faustina. Jesus is saying he's displeased with things that are going on in this convent, and that's kind of boggles our mind, doesn't it? Because we think that everybody who's probably in a convent or monastery is like supremely holy, and they're a bunch of nuns. Is there really anything that is there that's that bad? I think it was Fulton Sheen who said hearing the confessions of nuns was like being pelted with popcorn. He always had such a way with words. But so, I was reading through this and I'm like, come on. I mean, it's a convent with a bunch of nuns. How serious could the things be there that you're so displeased with that you don't want to stay there any longer? But then I remembered, nuns are human too, and they have temptations and struggles and everything just like we do. They've chosen a special vocation, but that doesn't mean that once they choose that vocation, it's all smooth sailing. So I think we have to be reminded that, our religious, they need our prayers too. And I'm sure they have an entirely different set of struggles than maybe us out here in the world as lay people have. But what struck me from this, I don't live in a convent. Most of us don't live in a convent. But Jesus is upset about what is going on in the convent. Obviously, there are some sins, or maybe they're being lax in, the different vows that they take. Oftentimes, religious take certain vows of chastity, poverty, and obedience. Maybe they were being lax in those. I don't know. He doesn't specify, but he's upset about something that's going on in this house. and he doesn't want to be there anymore. And it got me to thinking, I don't have anything where I can relate to living in a convent, but it got me thinking about our own homes, out in the world. Are our homes a place where God dwells? As we go about our days living in our homes, does what goes on in our house please God, or does it displease him? And I started thinking back in my life to homes that when I was in them felt like a place where God would be pleased. And I realized very sadly that there were very few. I can think of a couple, honestly, that when I would go in and the actions that I would see displayed, matching with the words that were being said, there was a good alignment there. Most of the homes that I went to, and most of them people that would call themselves Christians, people who would go to church on Sundays and things like that, there's a lot going on in those homes that I think would be very displeasing to God, including my own home. My parents are divorced. They did not have a good marriage, and that made for some hard times in my growing up years. And so I think this is something that we need to look internally at ourselves. So often what happens is we look around at other people's families and we're good judges of those families. Oh, so-and-so's doing this and so-and-so's doing this and they're having problems and I know they have this sin. But we don't look at our own families and our own homes. And when we don't do that, I can't fix so-and-so's house over here. I can't make their home better. And I can't fix, the Smith's home over here and make it better. But I can fix my own home. And I can try to make it as pleasing to God as possible, and a place where God would want to dwell, where he's pleased with what's going on in our homes. So many of the things that I've been talking about on my social media accounts is, with the state of our world right now and the state of our culture, there's a lot going on and we all want to know what to do. And St. Mother Teresa told us, if you want to start making things better, and I'm paraphrasing, go home and love your families. And that's where the change happens. So many of us are coming from broken homes, broken families that are just, riddled with all kinds of sin and vice. And then we go out into the world and those become our habits and we start our own families and the cycle just continues. And so I think we have to really look at our families and is it a place that is pleasing to God? Is there pornography in our house? Are we watching shows and movies that in no way glorify God? And I'm not saying you only have to watch the Hallmark Channel, but I know a lot of people who watch things that are just downright awful, but then they go to Mass on Sunday. And I used to be this way. I used to watch whatever was laid in front of me. I didn't care. And, now those images are sadly stuck in my head. But, what is going on in our homes? Are we praying? Are we teaching our children about the faith in a loving way? Not in a, God's gonna be watching you every second of the day, but in a loving way that makes our children want to live out the faith. Are we living out the faith? Are we coming together as a family and doing things together as a family? I think these are all very, very important questions to ask. As spouses, do we hold grudges against each other? Are we constantly bickering and fighting and taking score on who did this chore and who did that chore? And are we being emotionally and physically abusive to our spouses? Christians do this too. And we need to look at ourselves, look inside of ourselves, and make sure that our homes are places where when people walk in, they're like, wow, this feels different. This feels good. This feels like a place of peace and comfort and where I can come and rest and, enjoy myself. So that's what I was looking at this today and I was reading, and that's just what came to my mind. I need to look at my own family too. Are we doing what we can to look at ourselves and look at our family to make sure that it looks different than the world. I hope it does. I really hope it does. So, take stock in your family. Are there things in your home that are questionable and are in direct conflict with our Catholic faith? And if there are you willing to remove it? And that's the biggest question of all. Are you willing to work on it? And are you willing to remove it? So think about that today. There's always room for improvement, right, Catholic pilgrims? Always. So let's make our homes a place where God is pleased to dwell. And I will see you here tomorrow for day 17. And until then, Catholic pilgrims, live the faith boldly and travel well.